Hi, everybody. So I wanted to get on today and just create an updated video on how to apply your Seint makeup. And I'm starting from the beginning. You can see I have nothing on my face. So I have combination skin. It tends to get a little bit oily in the T-zone. And then I wouldn't say I'm dry in the rest of the areas. I'm just what I would consider normal. But I like to make sure that my makeup is, my skin is prepared for my cream makeup. So I take our Perfector sponge and then because I do get oily, you're gonna want, if you use a setting spray, it's really important that you know the kind of skin that you have and that you are using a setting spray that's appropriate for your skin type. So this is the ELF and it's the Matte Magic because I wanna mattify those areas that I get oily. But this can also act as a primer. So I'll just spray a little bit on the end and I just stipple, which means to bounce and press on that as a primer. Okay, you do not have to do this. Again, this one is a mattifying one, so that's kind of setting my skin up. Now, I am going to kind of get started for you on how to do the basic foundation color, and that's all I'm going to do on here and show you like how little it takes. I mean, obviously it needs to be enough that you're getting a little bit of coverage, but you also don't need a ton. The reason is it is cream, so it's going to be thicker than a liquid or a powder foundation, and it's at a 30% pigmentation as opposed to 12 to 18%. So it doesn't take as much either to get the coverage, okay? It's nice and hydrating for your skin. Now you can have oily skin and still use cream foundation. A lot of times, those of you that might have oily skin, it takes time for your skin to adjust to cream because it's been used to another formula. So if you have questions on how to help with oily skin, make sure you reach out to me because I can always help you troubleshoot. All of our skin is different, just like we're all different. So sometimes we just aren't even taking care of our skin properly. But I'm gonna open up my palette here and you see these are my basic 4 shades. Your basic 4 foundation color for Seint, which is your 3D. So you've got your brightening highlight, main highlight, contour, and lip and cheek. Now I have another lip and cheek down here that I use as a color corrector for my inner eyes. If you have other issues that are maybe deeper than mine, or you have melasma, or you have age spots or sunspots or acne scars, we do have a line called Demi that is specific for color correcting. And I haven't tried it. I just recently purchased, so I do need to kind of get my hands in that and try that out so I can help those of you that might be interested in that. But I'm going to go ahead and I am just using the small end of this blend brush, and it could be any end brush. This is probably the brush that I would also recommend using. This is the detail brush. I like to use this brush for placing my contour, and then this smaller end is really nice to get into these areas. So in fact, I'll just switch that because you don't need to see a bunch of different brushes, but I'm just going to barely tap in just a little bit, and then I'm coming in and I'm tapping in that inner corner, and you'll see it's a little pink, but what it's doing is it's going to cancel that blue out for me, and I barely tapped in, and I'm just bouncing that brush on there too and kind of pressing that into my skin. And then I have a little vein that likes to pop here, so I'll usually just kind of move a little bit there. Okay, and again, I'm just going to tap, come in to that inner corner, place it, and it doesn't take a lot. I did tap in a little bit more on that side. And I'm not coming all the way across, I'm not swiping, I'm just barely using any and coming in and placing it there. Okay, so now if you don't need that, if you don't need to color correct anything, then you're done. You do not need, or you don't need to, you can skip that. You can start now at the next place. So I typically, next, I come in with my brightening highlight. I like to put this on the left side, so I kind of am going in order across. So I am going to tap into my brightening highlight, and I'm going to put that just over the top of that inner corner, and then again on the outer corner. I am 43 years old. A lot of times you'll see girls swiping all the way under. We do not want heavy color under our eye. It settles into fine lines and wrinkles, and it will pop and show. So I'm just placing on that inner and outer corner, and then I can kind of blend. So I'm using a less product in there to get the coverage that I want, and then I can blend down, okay? So now that I have placed my brightening highlight here down the bridge of my nose, I come in around here because I do have a little bit of redness and I like to lighten that. You can put it here and you can put it here if you want, okay? So that's placed. I'm not gonna blend quite yet for you. I'm gonna come in, oh, sorry. I'm keeping with that detail brush. I'm gonna come into my contour. I did skip over my main highlight because the whole point of the foundation here is that we can put all of this, all these colors in one layer, and you're not stacking on heavy layers in order to get that three-dimensional look to your face. So I'm taking my contour across my top of my forehead from temple to temple, okay? Then I'm gonna come in and I'm going to use kind of the side, and I'm going to just kind of press from my hairline to the outer corner of my eye, just under my cheekbone, okay? I'm pressing up into that. Work with your natural, and then I just kind of blend up a little bit. Work with your natural structure. That's how God made you. It's what makes you beautiful. It's what makes you look like yourself. You don't need to put contour up higher to try to make your cheekbones look higher or anything like that. Just work with that natural structure, okay? And what this does, contour is kind of a cooler tone to create shadow to your face and creates that three-dimensional look. I can also take the edge of my 3D brush, get that in there, and then I can, you do not have to contour your nose, it's personal preference, but I typically do, and I just kind of stamp on the top. Okay. And I'm going to kind of flip that around and do this other side. And I'm just using the edge of this 3D brush, stamping, and then I can kind of blend down. Okay. I'm going to be blending all of this more. And if you're aging more than I am and this skin is starting to sag more, if you come in just under the edge of your jaw here, we're not coming up high, we're going just under, you can swipe that there and then drag down, and that will help to smooth out that skin that likes to sag down and give the illusion that it's not sagging so much and give you more of a jawline, okay? And it just pulls that shadow down. Okay, now I'm gonna finish with the blush and bronzer brush. This has been my favorite lately. The 3D brush I also really like, and I've recommended for the last couple years, but I am really loving this brush. So it's also similar. I mean, it has more of a medium coverage as well. I'm going to tap in to my main highlight, and now I can just tap in, and then I can tap that on all the areas where I didn't have my brightening highlight and I didn't have my contour. Okay, you can barely see that, but it is there, and it matches my skin really nicely. So now, before I add my lip and cheek, you could add lip and cheek right here if you wanted to, right on above your contour on your cheekbone, on the apples of your cheek, and back here, and blend. I'm going to come in after, but I'm just going to show you quickly how I'm going to blend this all out. So I'm using that smaller end of my blush bronzer brush, and I'm just going to tap. Now, The longer you have the cream foundation sitting on your skin, if you place it like I just did, it's going to warm up and it blends out really easily. Contour is tackier. You have to push a little harder to get that onto your brush. Okay, and I do like to even out the skin tone on my eyelids, so I do carry across there. I might come in and blend a little more in the inner corners of my eye as well. But again, you can see I'm just pressing in, tapping or stippling and pressing that product into my skin while I'm moving around, and that's blending it. And I'm going to come on my nose here. Okay, now I am going to come back in with this small end and just make sure that I'm pressing that in and I have all of that blended in the inner corner of my eye and kind of around. And now I can go ahead and come in with my lip and cheek, okay? So I am going to use this shade here called Renaissance. It's currently a shade of the season. It's only temporarily available, but it's really pretty. I got some good color on my brush, and I'm just gonna tap that on my apple of my cheek and my cheekbone right above my contour. And I'm just gonna keep tapping and blending that till it looks how I want it to look, till you have the color payoff. If you get a little more than you wanted, keep blending and you will be able to blend some of that away if you got too much. There's also, I'm going to show you what else I like to do that will pick up any extra product. So you're kind of in the apple of your cheek and above that contour, and they kind of marry together, the contour and the lip and cheek color. Okay, now I'm looking at my clock on my timer right here on my phone as I'm creating this video for you, and I'm at 12 minutes. This process normally takes me 4 minutes. So in the beginning, while you're getting used to a new system, it might take you a little bit longer. I'm going to go ahead and use some bronzer. So if you ordered bronzer, this is how I would like you to place that. I'm using the big end, but you can use whatever brush you have. This is the big end, the fluffy end of the blush and bronzer brush. I'm kind of circulating, swooping that around, and I'm going to come and I'm placing that on the high points of my face. So, and then I'm going to just kind of warm up where the sun would hit. Okay, and it ends up being, you can think of it like a C across your forehead and onto your cheekbone, but you also can take it into a 3 or like an E, like that. I don't typically come down here with my bronzer, but I do come onto my neck because my neck happens to be a little lighter than my face. So I like to make sure that that looks more even. Okay, so that's it. That's how you put on that 3D foundation. Now, if you have that Perfector sponge, you can get it wet, fully wet, squeeze it out so it's damp. And then if you're concerned that you might have any excess, you just press, and what it'll do is it'll pick up any excess if you didn't blend or if you happened to get too much in an area, okay? And I just go across each. But if you didn't, as long as you don't rub it off, of course you could rub it off because it's wet, but if you're just pressing lightly, this will also kind of press that cream into your skin more, and it moves with your skin throughout the day. Okay, and then I'm just going to talk about one other thing. If you are someone who, now I did get enough to give me good coverage. I'll have the dimension that I want to my face. But if you're a person like me that gets oily in your T-zone, or maybe you're oily all around, then what you're going to want to do is, you're going to want to spray with the setting spray, okay? So I'm going to spray again for me, because there's oil involved in my T-zone, I'm using a mattifying setting spray. Let that kind of dry. If you are dry, but you really need your makeup to stay for a while, the Seint setting spray is really great for dry skin because it's more, not shiny. It just gives more moisture to the skin. It's more illuminating, but there's other kinds as well. You just want to avoid a mattifying one. So you're gonna go for another kind. And I can give you recommendations if you want. Now, I come in, if you prefer a more matte look to your foundation, you can come in with a setting powder. Seint has a setting powder, a translucent setting powder that's really light, very, very light and good. I use Laura Mercier. It's my favorite. It really lasts for me all day. So I can, again, use that fluffy end, and I just kind of tap in. I'm swirl it in the lid, and then I just press into my T-zone. I don't take it across my whole face because my whole face isn't oily. I just kind of go here in this T-zone, and that's it. I press it in, and that will help. It kind of mattifies that oily spot for me and sets it for the day. So if Amos and I are going to go on a date night, I would come in and I would freshen up throughout the day, especially because I typically put my makeup on quite early in the morning. So by evening, I do want to touch up and freshen that up to just kind of smooth things out again. But, and then additionally, before you were to do your eyes, after you get through with everything, if you notice, you know what, I want a little more bronzer or a little more blush, you can go back in and you can add a little bit more. But that's also the beauty of cream. You can add more as you need to. So I'm gonna come back on another video and just show you how I apply my basic eye makeup, or at least my eyeshadows. I'm not gonna freak you out by putting mascara on in the video, but I will come back and show you all of that.